Perfect. How's your day going?
Good,
Yeah.
good. Just yeah, like every other day.
It's
Get my kids
Groundhog's
to
Day.
school. Exactly. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Just been doing a lot of these podcasts and connecting with Calgarians because right now,
Yeah,
more than ever, we kind of need to just talk. It's been
yeah,
interesting out there. So, are you keeping active and fit during these times?
yeah. Actually, I hit up an outdoor rink today
Nice.
with one of my friends in town. So uh, it's during school hours. There's no one out there, so we try and go every couple weeks. Just um, me and a buddy of mine, and just go pass the puck around, get the fresh air in. Something to do. So that's what I did this morning. Actually, after I dropped my oldest off at school.
Okay. Is our schools open now? Or-
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
a time.
I know it's crazy. I don't even. Yeah, gyms aren't open, and I guess so. Schools have been pretty good. We had the extra few weeks after Christmas, and then other than that, I think schools have been open. I don't know for the older kids. High school might be different,
Yeah.
but yeah, my oldest son's only in kindergarten, so it's not like uh, yeah, they haven't been closed down
Nice.
that much. So
And your wife, has she been busy with photography at this time?
yeah, she's a little bit. I think once Christmas hits, it's a little bit of a downtime for her.
Mhm.
But she still gets requests and tries to pick her spots when to do stuff. So yeah, it's just crazy, right? Because you respect everybody's situation and opinions on COVID and how they're approaching things. So you just kind of, you kind of connect with your family and do what's best for you, and you respect everybody else. And so just like in any profession, even taking pictures, like some people aren't as comfortable, some people are, but yeah, but she's enjoying that, and it's nice for her to get out and do that for sure.
She did a really cool series on the porch with everyone, which was really neat. It was far away, and she had captured those moments of the families at their homes.
Yeah, she was excited to do that, and that was right at the start. It's crazy. That's almost a year ago. But yeah, she got the idea. I think she saw it somewhere. I think someone out east was doing it, and she saw the idea, and she's like, "That's such a good idea." And yeah, she went right after it. She was really busy with that, and it was yeah. She would go to people's houses, and it's called the Front Porch Project, and families would come out from um, everybody was on lockdown, so they would come out to their front porch and front steps, and she would stand on the sidewalk out front, or obviously social distance, and snap some family photos for everybody. So I guess and it was all the money was donated to charity that she raised, and years down the road, I'm just like, people are going to look back and they're going to be happy they have that picture to kind of, as bad as this time is for everybody, you're still going to have that in your memory. And for families, it's a, in a way, it's a special time because you're spending so much time together. I think it's a little long now, but at the time it was, you can reconnect with your direct family. Everybody's lives got kind of put on hold, and you're stuck in your house with just your direct family. And that was, for a little bit, that was a good thing.
Did you ever feel worried or scared at any moment in time during this pandemic?
I sometimes worry because you do hear stories that are scary. I worry more for the older population, and we all have parents. Both my parents are in their 60s. My in-laws are in their 60s. So that's the stuff you worry about. But yeah, I just think it is what it is, right? You only control so much as an individual, especially, people like us. We're just kind of do what you can, respect other people's opinions. Don't get, just whatever makes you comfortable. But I do worry for the well-being. I think the mental health
Mhm.
aspect to it, I think that kind of sometimes gets overlooked in all of this, because I do think a lot of people are struggling in that sense, and we're talking about it, but I feel like there should be a lot more talk about it, because that's huge. Even when we come out of this, it's a big factor, I think.
No. I mean, just the psychological damage it's done to so many of us, right? Not just financially, it's the mind. And if we can communicate and be open, say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we all had a downfall. So I was going to ask you, is it nature versus nurture in terms of becoming a hockey player? Did you know you were going to be a hockey player, a professional hockey player, or were you born as that, or is it, your environment makes you a hockey player? Because you're from Mississauga, Ontario.
Yeah. I think I think your environment has a big part of it, probably more so. You know, you kind of, as parents, you kind of surround your children with, the things you want them to be around. And for me as a child, my parents were athletic people, and they surrounded me with, hockey was everywhere. And I know we get that in Canada, no matter what, because we live in Canada and hockey is so prominent here. But they had a hockey stick in my hand at a young age, and I loved it. It was just something, I'd watch the TV, and Saturday nights I'd be so excited. And so it's definitely, I think it's, obviously you have to have a natural ability. You got to be athletic, and you work at that as you get older. But from when I was born, and from whenever I can remember, I had a hockey stick in my hand, and hockey was on the TV in our house. So definitely that's a big part of the environment I was brought into, and led me on the path that I eventually took to live out my dream and play in the NHL.
When was that moment where you're just like, holy smokes, I've made it. I'm on TV. I'm right here. Was there a game or a moment, or was it that 1,000 goal or first goal where you're like, holy smokes, this is real?
Yeah, there's so many moments. For me, the biggest moment was when I got drafted, because when I got drafted, I kind of came out of nowhere from the year before. I went to junior hockey. Even in minor hockey, I wasn't a standout player. I worked hard. I was decent. I played AAA and the top level, but I was never like the superstar. So I went to junior and got overlooked. Didn't even go my first year in the draft. I went the year after, so I joined a year later than most kids. And when I got and then I had a good season and confidence starts. But when you get drafted, for me, doesn't mean you're going to make it when you look at the numbers. But for me, when I got drafted, I knew that I had the opportunity to live out my dream, and I wasn't letting that slide. I was going after it, and it was an exciting time, but also, the work I put in, it ranched up even more because I wanted it even more, and it was there for me. And for me, it was my hometown team. The Leafs drafted me, so it was even, and I think for any hockey player, when you get drafted, you're that close. But if you take your foot off the gas, you won't make it. There's too much competition. There's 700 guys in the NHL, and there's always guys trying to take your job. But for me, I got drafted, and there was no turning back, and I wasn't letting anything stop me from taking a turn and not getting there. And my career, that's when I just developed, and it was just a straight upward rise in my play and confidence and my skill, and that's ultimately when I felt it happened.
What was mom and dad like when you got drafted? What was their emotions like?
Yeah, everybody was emotional. I think you're so I was emotional, excited, and I wish I took the time to look at my parents and be like, what's there? Because obviously they're excited, but there's tears, there's excitement. My draft was in Toronto too, so I had my family there, my grandparents, my cousins, my friends growing up. I had a big crew, which was nice. It all worked out that way. Like, you hear stories where you go to the draft and it doesn't work out, or the draft might be, across North America in a different city. So for me, it was right there, and we were able to have a draft, celebration party that night, and it was excitement. But I think, once I got and played my first game, and watching me score my first goal, and that's I'm sure it was chilling for them, and I don't know what they did on their own, if they got emotional, and they're not the most emotional people, but I'm sure they did, because I was feeling it and I was living it. But I just look at my kids now, and I'm like, man, when they do anything that makes you proud, let alone get to the NHL, but just anything, you feel so proud as a parent. So, when my son started walking, you're just proud, so for them to watch me go through everything I went through growing up and the work you put in, and they pushed me and gave me every opportunity. I couldn't even imagine the feelings they had. And I don't know if I would get it from them just because they don't show it as much as, some people do. But for sure they were feeling the emotions.
That's beautiful. Now, what made you stay in Calgary if family's back home in Mississauga? How did that happen?
Yeah, so we just love it here. Honestly, the when we first got here, obviously we actually got married. Me and my wife Katie got married right after we got traded here that summer. We got married, and we had a house in Toronto that we built, and that's where we were living before we came out here. So the thought was always, we're gonna probably move back to Toronto eventually. We'd spend our summers there, but then after we were here for so long, and if I was only in Calgary for 2 years, who knows where we'd be now. But I played here for 9 years after that, 8+ years. So in 2014, 2013, we just started staying here in the summers. We liked the lifestyle. During the hockey season, it was very similar because I'm busy. There's road trips, but like living here in the off season made us realize this is unbelievable place for us to live. Just Toronto's a busy city, and a lot came with that. But there's just a nice feel to living here, and we would go visit, and so we kind of got the best of both, and eventually, you're here for so long, and your kids are born here, and you have so many attachments to the city. We had highs of highs. We had some tough personal stuff happen here. We felt the city's support. We're very active, with the Children's Hospital here and the NICU at the foothills, and you get attached in so many ways when you're somewhere for 10 years. So for us as a family, this has been home since we've been married. We lived in Toronto for a few years. I grew up in Mississauga. But as an adult, this is where we've been, and this is where we've raised our kids to this point. And so it just kind of, we talked a lot about it when I was retiring and what we want to do, and it just feels right here. And that's kind of the decision we came to.
And the Rockies are here, so it's beautiful.
And yes, and that's not even going into the beauty of what we have here, being able to go skiing and the mountains and just the nature. It's not to knock, the city I grew up in, but Toronto's a great big city and a lot of good things about it. But you can't get away like you can get away here, and we don't take that for granted because we grew up there. And they have the lakes and it's nice, but nothing beats the mountains. Nothing comes even close to the mountains.
Now, Matt, you're so influential in the community, not just as a hockey player, but while you were a hockey player, you've won several awards in humanitarian and what you do for the Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House. How did this all come about?
It's honestly, I grew up in the way you're brought up. You want to help people. It was just part of me, part of my wife, part of who we are. And I started in Toronto, and I knew from a young age, I grew up watching the Leafs, and I knew the impact pro hockey players had on people and on the cities. And so as soon as I was with the Leafs, I knew, I didn't take for granted, who I was. I wasn't just I was focused on hockey, and that's my profession, but I knew I could make an impact in other people's lives. And in Toronto, I was with the Sick Kids Hospital and, working with some of their units there. And, just by going to the hospital and seeing, children who are going through tough times or families, you could make a difference and put a smile on their face just because you're a Toronto Maple Leaf. So I learned that I kind of knew that coming in, and I never looked past that. So I made sure, I could do whatever I could to help people, because that's important. I'm a firm believer that's a part of being a hockey player or being a celebrity in any city. You can make a difference. And coming to Calgary didn't change, and the Flames are very influential in the city, and that's never been, they do such amazing things. So it was an easy transition when I came to Calgary. And as you get older, you have your own life experiences, and you kind of pick and choose, what areas you want to make a difference. You want to help in every way, but you keen on a few things. And the Children's Hospital was the first thing we got involved with right when we got traded here. It was a natural fit. So me and my wife became the spokespeople for the Children's Hospital, and then we had a personal loss with our first born, and the support we had from the city, that'll never be forgotten, and it was a natural and easy thing for us that we want to keep. We want to keep our firstborn Emerson, keep his spirit alive, and in doing that, we wanted to help the NICU at the Foothill, so we still support that and are involved in everything that they do. So it's just kind of, it's something that's instilled in me and my wife. It's important to us, and it will never not be. And the Flames do a good job making sure, because a young guy coming into the NHL, you're focused on playing. You got to stay in the league, but you got to make sure, or try and teach them that there's a lot going on in this world that we can make a difference in, and make sure we are. And Brian Burke's a big, the Flames are, but Brian Burke, I had him in Toronto as well. He's big into that. And, so I just think the people that are around, you're good people, and you want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. How did you deal with the loss? That's, parent loses a child. That's the hardest thing. And then knowing you have to play these games, I just can't imagine the mindset of, you're so confuzzled. You have your family, young family, everything is kind of collapsed for you guys. How did you get out of the family?
It's not easy. And
mm-hmm.
The thing, everybody kind of goes through grief differently. And it does feel like the walls are coming in, your world's turned upside down, right away. And in those moments, and, it takes time to process everything. The support we had from not only our family and friends and, teammates and people closest, we felt support from everybody. And in today's world, I think everybody's more open about things. And, just feeling like a great big hug, basically from the whole city of Calgary, helped us. And, obviously there's a lot of mental stuff and things that go into it, and supporting each other. But, you got to find a way and move forward in a way that's going to work for your family. And, my wife grieves differently than I do. For me, coming back to play hockey, 2-3 weeks later, I got, the team let me take a leave, and I was gone from the team for a bit, but coming back kind of, was a bit of an escape. It was just, for me, it was put me in a spot mentally, to try and push forward. So that helped me, and knowing the support I had. It wasn't easy. I don't think it's hard to put myself in those shoes again, but it just changed your kind of perspective on a lot of things in life. And it kind of, it was a hard time, but it was, I think you learn a lot, and you just kind of make do with
life, right?
With life. It's, and you see people go through it all the time, and there's no right way to grieve. Like, everybody's different. It's like anything in life, everybody's different, and you got to respect that. And the only thing we could do is, give each other what we needed, and the people around us. And that's the hard part. Like, my parents, my wife's parents, like, they're grieving too, but they're also supporting us. They're losing a grandchild, but they're supporting us. It's not just you. And so you got to, get through it yourself, but you also want to be there for the ones you love and that are also feeling, the effects of what happened. And you find a way to move forward. And we were able to do that. And we still remember Emerson to this day. His birthday's actually coming up, and we see him in our kids today. We know he's there in his own way. And that's kind of how we pushed through.
You were number 14 growing up, and then you had to switch to number 18. How did that happen? Was it Because you were
Yeah,
number 50 for your uncle, right?
yes. So I wore number 14 in Toronto in honor of my uncle who passed away from cancer when I was a young boy. And yeah, so I wore 14 my whole life through junior, my year in the AHL with the Leafs. And yeah, when I got traded, just 14 wasn't available. Not because someone was wearing it, just no one had worn it since Theo Fleury. So I wasn't going to be that guy. I don't think anybody should wear that number. I think he's one of the best ever to, wear a Flames jersey. So yeah, just the options were slim. And the only other number I actually did wear was 18 in high school hockey, because a grade 12 when I was in grade 9 was the one in grade 12 was wearing 14. So I wore 18, and that's the only other number I wore. So I was like, hey, I'll have 18. I was thinking about flipping it to 41, flipping it. That's what I wore my first NHL game before I made the team. But Daryl Sutter said, no one's wearing a number higher than 32 or whatever it was at the time. He was very old school that way, as we all know Daryl Sutter. And yes, that's kind of how I got 18. And I like the number. I really enjoyed wearing it. And that's how I got to number 18.
When you were like, what was it like being on ice and you see the sea of red? What was that feeling like in Calgary?
Yeah, it was amazing. It still is. Right now there's no fans, so it's weird at the Saddledome watching a game. But yeah, the way I looked at it, when you'd come as the road team to Calgary, it was cool. Like you'd come, it would be the sea of red. You're not used to it. And then when the Flames score, when they come out, you feel the big flame come down. Like you know that as the road team, when the Flames score, not only are you getting scored on, but you have this flame coming down. It reminds you that you got scored on. So it was like, so when you came to Calgary, I was so excited to be like, this is going to be awesome. The fan experience, because Toronto, it's a great fan experience when the games are big, but a lot of the games, it's a lot of suits, and it's not as intimate as the Saddledome, where the fans are right on top of you, with the way that arena is kind of made. And we should enjoy that until the new rink's made, because it is a cool atmosphere, but nothing compares to playoffs. Like when we were in the playoffs here, that rink gets so loud. Everybody's wearing a jersey. Everybody's excited. You just feel the hype. So it's it's another level. But comparing even just a regular season game to other cities, Calgary still, the fans are, just the sea of red. The red around the rink, it just pops, and it's a good atmosphere.
Oh, of course.
So
was it interesting to get your first autograph or picture taken where you're like, holy smokes, this is different?
Yeah, it is, but you kind of, there's a progress to that. So you're in junior, so you're in a small town, so you're still, the small town loves you. I played junior hockey in Belleville, small town in Ontario. It's where my wife's actually from. And so you kind of have like the booster clubs, and you're signing some autographs. You go to high or grade schools there, and so you're kind of shaped into it. But then I got thrown right into it, and the Toronto Maple Leafs, the biggest market of all, and it's crazy. Like every day you leave the rink. Now it's more protected, but when I first started, like our practice, we would park our cars, go to practice. After practice, there'd be people asking for autographs every day. Oh. So every day you're walking into the rink, walking out, people are asking for autographs. I was a 19-year-old kid, and yeah, it is surreal when you think about it, because I would go in my car and I would be like, I used to be one of those kids asking for autographs, and not even that long ago, and 4 or 5 years later, I'm the one signing autographs. So, but like anything, I had to learn to stay focused and not get too high, because you've seen what can happen. You're making good money at a young age, and that's one thing I think helped me play for a long time, was never getting too high and never getting too low in the hard parts of your career, because there are ups and downs. So just kind of staying focused, and that helped me along the way. And but it is surreal for sure when you look back at it, and then it just becomes part of your life. That's your new life. And it's never going to change. You're always going to be the NHL player. Even when you retire, you play in the NHL, there's still people that want to hear about it, we're talking right now. Like if I didn't play in the NHL, we're not doing this interview. You're probably like, who cares about Matt Stajan? So that's just kind of what comes with it. So it is surreal though.
Did you, how did you keep your ego in check? Because I mean, like in so many players, like you said, you're so young, you're getting the money, you're getting the fame. I mean, so many accolades and sponsorships. And how do you keep that in check? Because that's a tough thing to do. And be just,
Yeah. And to be honest, like there's, I look back, there's a lot of things that I did that I regret and wish I did differently.
part of
Not
growing.
to the point where, I was in jail or, stuff like that. But you make mistakes and you learn from them. It's about when you make a mistake, you got to learn from it, right? You can't, if you make the same mistake twice, that's, I don't feel sorry for people that make the same mistake twice. And that's just kind of how it went. Like I had my fun. You have, and you need to, right? Otherwise it's all part of learning and growing up. And, but it was a time, it was a little different. There wasn't as much social media when I first came in. But for sure there were nights that, that I would, you'd go out with your friends and the next day you're like, I probably should have been a bit more careful last night. If someone saw me or, and took a picture of me and, you can get in trouble because it travels fast if you don't want to get a bad reputation. So I was very conscious of that. And just kind of, tried to protect myself and, be smart about things, right? It's really not rocket science. And as I get older, it's easy to say when you're young, you don't really think about it. But as you get older, you're like, it's not rocket science. Just pick your spots and, surround yourself with good people that you trust. That's another thing. It's if you surround yourself with the wrong people, that gets you into a lot of trouble. And that's probably where, that's what helped me the most is I was surrounded by the right people. And so when I did make a mistake or did something I wish I didn't, because we all make mistakes, it wasn't a big deal and I could learn from it and then it wouldn't happen again. So that's probably the number one thing.
Matt, before we get going here, I wanted to ask you, who's one of your favorite players or what are some of your favorite players that you have growing up?
I was a huge Doug Gilmour fan, and a Matt Sundin fan. So Doug Gilmour was my guy when I was like 10. He got traded from Calgary to Toronto and I was a huge Leafs fan. And cool story is my first NHL game. I actually played that game because Doug Gilmour was hurt. He was on the Leafs. It was his last year. They traded from at the deadline. He got hurt in his only game, and the Leafs had a ton of injuries, and that's how I got my first game. And I remember him coming to me before the game. He wasn't playing, but he was in the dressing room rehabbing. He came to my stall and said, "Hey, have fun out there," and just kind of gave me a little pep talk. Like it was quick. It was like, it's the same game. Just go out there and do your thing. And I remembered that. I don't even know if he would remember doing that, but I grew up idolizing this guy. And then Matt Sundin was the next guy through my teen years, and I'm in a dressing room with him. It was crazy. And, and honestly, I was so fortunate. My first few years in the NHL, I roomed with Joe Nieuwendyk, who obviously played in Calgary for a long time and could pick his brain about stuff. And, Gary Roberts was on the team and we traded for Brian Leach, Ed Bell. It's incredible the guys I grew up watching, and then all of a sudden you're in a dressing room with them, passing the puck with them at practice. But main thing was I watched and tried to be a sponge my first few years. I would watch how people, take care of themselves, what they're doing as pros, how are they being pros, and that's the biggest advice I'd give to anybody is really watch the people who are successful and that you respect. You can learn so much just from seeing their day-to-day habits and, how they go about things. It's not always, just, getting an answer from them. It's you can just, watch them. And that's what I did. I sat in my stall and, I'd talk, they'd be friendly, but I'd be like, man, this guy works hard. Look at all the little things he's doing. Joel Nieuwendyk would be doing back exercise in our hotel room at night just to make sure he could play because he'd have to do activations because he had a bad back. And I'd be like, this guy's doing this just so he can play tomorrow. And look at the career he's had. So I picked up on these things and I made sure through my career that I was conscious of it. And that's a big reason why I was able to play for a long time.
It's interesting to see that all of this is in the beauty of the little things, the simple things, isn't it? Those micro tasks you do day to day that make you who you are. Yeah.
So true.
Thanks so much, Dave, for your time, Matt.
No, thanks for having me.